Welcome back to the Art of Actual Change. I'm your host, Derek Nielsen, former health specialist turned wildlife, conservation, fine art photographer. Through my many travels around the world, I've met some people who are doing some fascinating work outside themselves to make this planet a better place to live. Each episode, I'll be bringing you these people, letting them tell their stories, and hopefully you'll find inspiration in these stories so that you can go out and make an actual change in your world or the world around you. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Art of Actual Change. I have an excellent guest today. I have Nina Bergman, a Hollywood actress, a model, a musician, and very importantly, an animal activist. And that is why I'm speaking with her today. She is someone who, when I started reading her bio, I was just fascinated by all the things that you've done in your life so far with your family history. You were born in Denmark, correct?
Correct, yeah.
I am actually half Danish, so hey.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
But they can't see, but you actually look very Danish.
Do I? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good. So that's another connection we have. You grew up in Europe, and tell me a little bit about your childhood. I read that you were a sibling of 7. Is that correct?
Yes. I grew up in Denmark with a Russian dad,
Okay.
a meat-eating, typical,
Yeah.
Russian dad, and a mom, Danish mom. So I grew up there, but I left, I left my parents when I was 12 and moved away when I was 14. I got a
Wow.
scholarship to a school in London and then went to Moscow and then went to New York City when I was 16. So I haven't lived in Denmark,
Sure.
since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what brought you to those different locations in your childhood? What were you studying something?
Yes, I was doing musical theater. I got into a musical theater school in London, and in Denmark it's very, Denmark is like, the happiest country in the world. It's one of the most amazing countries in the sense, education is free, very high education, healthcare is free. People care about, well-being of others and not what you do for a living, and quality
Right.
of life. It's just really beautiful. But if you are someone like me who was half Russian, who had dreams and aspirations, and I was a little different, I didn't really fit in. And I knew since I was a very young girl that America was where it was at.
Yeah.
Just
And when did you come to America?
when I was 16.
16. And what part of America did you come to? Because that can make a big difference on your introduction.
Yeah,
Was it
New York.
Kansas, New York City? It's like,
I came to New York City. I knew, I knew I wanted to come to New York. I didn't, I didn't have a plan. I, slept on strangers' couches. I have a bench in Central Park that I engraved my initials.
nice.
I slept there a few times, and I just did what I had to do. And managed to take my GED, my SATs, got into NYU. I went to college, and then worked as an amateur boxer to make money to pay for tuition, and then at that whole and also because I was at that time doing a lot of undercover work, and I
Okay.
was just seeing for animals, so I was just seeing a lot, and I needed an outlet to deal with everything that I saw. So I started to sing in a hard rock band, and I started to box
Nice.
to deal with the feelings and, being at that time like 18, 19 by myself in New York City and had really no clue what I was doing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. So, tell me a little bit about the movie, Hell
Oh,
Hath
yeah.
No Fury. Let's dive into that. I want to find out, just like, it's coming out November 5th, is that correct?
November 5th in theaters and then on streaming services on November 9th.
Excellent. Will be available on like Netflix and Hulu's and everything?
Amazon, iTunes,
Okay.
all of those, except for Netflix, this one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
hmm
So real quick, what's the movie about?
So the movie is about I play Marie, based on a true story. I'm a French resistant fighter who her parents get killed by an SS officer, and back then there was a lot of unsung heroes that were women that would go and date these Nazis to gather information. So
Yeah.
my character went to date the guy who killed my parents to gather information, and she falls in love with him.
Yeah.
Falls in love with him. And so that is like the underlying story. And then it's about, Nazis and Germans and action and gold and greed and, everyone is after this gold. But back then, a lot of the gold came from Jewish people, their teeth, their jewelries, their
Sure.
from the concentration camps. So, she's trying to hide this gold that all these soldiers are after because it's, it comes from, maybe her parents, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a really profound story, I think, and it's really important to be told at this time. So and I thought the director did it really beautifully. So it's not too, it's beautifully shot. It's exciting. You learn a lot, but it's not one of those where it's like so painful. Some of
Yeah.
these movies are just so painful to watch. Where he made it a little more, he made it a little more. I won't say fun, but
Not as just not as like boldly sad, right? It's like
exactly.
when I watched the trailer, I was like hanging on the edge of my seat. Like it was very intense and very well acted. So I'm no movie critic by any sense, but I could tell that you guys put a lot of heart and effort into it, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. So that's excellent. So when did you start acting? When would that become a passion of yours?
So my dad is a professor at the Danish Film School in Denmark at the university. So I've been acting my whole life. And my grandfather,
Yeah.
was in Ivan the Terrible and one of Russia's greatest actors, and
Yeah.
was Stanislavski's protege, and so it was kind of in my blood. And I've been acting and performing my whole life. And then when I came to America, I realized I need to go to school to be
Right.
taken seriously because I had a thick accent. And I was like, I understood at a very young age that it was a craft like anything else, like you want to
Sure.
be a doctor, you go to school,
Yeah.
the kind of career that I wanted and the kind of part that I wanted to play, I couldn't really wing it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had to actually learn the craft.
No,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so that's why too I came, because in Denmark there's like one acting school, and if you don't get in,
That's it.
you're not an actor,
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, so that was one of the reasons why I had to move too, because I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had to choose, like it was life or death, and someone had a gun to your head and you had to just make a decision, would you choose acting, modeling, or a musician?
Okay, modeling I hate.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I'll throw that one out. I saw that you do that. And then, I
But
mean,
it's money, and
yeah, yeah,
I've made a career out of it. But um, acting is actually my favorite. But the problem is a lot of the parts are not my favorite. So
uh,
that's why I did a lot of music too, to kind of be authentic and express myself in a different way, and then go and play
yeah,
parts I wasn't proud of. If that
yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I only shoot certain type of photography because that's what I'm passionate about. Like I wouldn't go do fashion photography or architectural stuff just because there's not an integrity to what I believe in and what I care
Mm,
about, you know? So like,
that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, so it's just not interesting to me, and I would be kind of winging it as I go, which wouldn't be, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. A lot of my gigs, as an actor, I would be winging it. So I had like this hate love relationship, kind of like two lovers. I would do something, and then I'll feel like, you hit your mark, you say your line, and I was like, I killed myself to go to school,
That,
and here I
yeah,
am living the dream, hitting
right.
my mark and just saying the line, and nobody cares about my ideas and my craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And so then
absolutely.
I would like go on the road for 6 months and write my own songs with my band and tour, and then I was like, well, that gets old too. It's the
Sure.
same song, it's the same, you play the same character, so to
Right.
speak, and uh, and then I would miss acting so much, and then I'd come back. So it was like, yeah,
Well, it's nice that you have that all, in case
yeah,
something just doesn't work out. You're like, okay, I'm sick of this. I'm going to go do that for a while. Keeps you mentally stimulated and fresh. So that's excellent.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when did your love for animals and the passion for activism and the ethical treatment of wildlife and animals, when did that begin? When did you kind of start to,
Very, very early age. I mean, my dad, a lot of vegans have had this experience. My dad took me fishing, And I remember he was like, he caught the fish, and then he taught me how to violently hit the fish, and it just didn't want to die. And
Yeah.
that fish was just like looking at me, and I was like, it doesn't want to die. Like, why am I smashing this fish that doesn't want to die? And it just kind of clicked. And then I was one of those, I would see like a dove with a broken wing, and I just would catch it with my jacket, and I would bring it home, and I would nurture it back to life. And I just at a very young age, like, I made no distinction between humans and animals, as a
Totally.
very famous vegan once said. He was like, if you have a baby and you put a rabbit in there and an apple, the baby is not going to take a bite of the rabbit, the bunny. It's going to
Wow.
kiss and pet the bunny, and it's going to take a bite of the apple. Like, I think we are naturally not taught to kill animals, you know what I mean? And if we
Yeah.
had to kill our animals to eat them, I think a lot of people wouldn't. So it was just a natural thing for me, just made sense from day one.
Did your
Like,
family, yeah, when did you give up meat? When was that? Was it like,
I was very young when I did it, and it was like tragic for my dad because
I was
without
gonna say,
meat, in Russia, it was like meat 3 times a day. And he's the kind of dad that would have me break the bones and suck the bone marrow out. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, totally, yeah.
Yeah, like, you gotta have meat,
Right.
and so, I stopped eating meat at a very, very young, like as a kid. And then when I started doing Undercover, then I realized what dairy was the most cruel industry of them all. And
Yeah,
I didn't connect the dots. Like, the dairy industry is just, I mean, it's insane what's happening.
totally.
So, and then for health reasons, I started learning too. And then, yeah, so it was, for me, it was, and I want to eat what the strongest animals eat, right?
Yeah,
Like, elephants and all of the strongest animals eat veggies. So,
right.
and I try to be a, so to speak, role model of, you know, vegans are not weak,
No,
and
totally. Yeah,
yeah,
you're,
it's a lifestyle. And then I did when I first came here, I did a reality TV show with Tommy Lee and Ludacris, where we toured around on a bus, the three of us, and we were educating. We learned about the environment. That was yeah. It was it was what it was. But I started learning about clothing, how much water it took, the pollution of
oh
you
wow.
know
Yeah.
what we are making. I started learning about plastic bottles. I started learning about all these things, and I was like, oh my god. And I didn't realize that being vegan had such a profound effect on the environment as well.
Yeah, huge. When were you doing that tour with those
It
two?
was like 10 years ago.
So you
Yeah.
were kind of like at the beginning of when we
Yes.
were all starting to wake up a little bit and was like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I had one thing where when I was like in New York, and I booked a gig for UN, and I went to Brazil, and I lived there for 3 months, and they hired me as a dancer model, and I lived with the gurus, and I had to, they'd never seen a blonde person with blue
Right,
eyes
wow, yeah.
and hair. And then it took time for them to kind of, you know, accept me in their tribe. And then we shot pictures of me dancing around with them. And at that time, the rainforest, the campaign was because their homes in the rainforest at that time was been cut down, for cattle, and so I watched these people's home get torn down that have lived there, never seen humans, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Right, yeah, yeah.
these little
The
pups.
outside world hadn't impacted them at any
Yeah,
way.
not at all, so, and then that was at 18, and I was like, oh, what, like, we're,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I started like connecting it all, at a very young age.
Yeah, that happened to me in the Amazon. I was there doing some photography in Ecuador, and
Oh yeah.
by the time I came home, um, I was doing backpacking about 6 months around South America, and when I came home, I learned that that reserve that I was in had a massive oil spill, and all the stuff that I had just seen was now just toxic sludge, and it was such a impact on me that it was pretty much when I decided that there was a few different instances in my travels around the world doing wildlife things that I knew that I had to get involved, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
It blew my mind that what I had seen, the absolute pure beauty of that Amazon rainforest in Ecuador, was now toxic, and it was so
Yeah.
sad, and it was just so like you seeing the fish being destroyed, or
Yeah.
seeing this beautiful patch of forest be cut down in front of you. So it's like, what are we doing?
Money,
Yeah, yeah,
ignorance. I think education is key. That, I mean, that's what I think, at least with my veganism, is I try to just educate people because they just don't know. If people knew, if people went to the rain, if people saw what you saw what I saw,
right.
I think people would make, you know, a lot of different choices because we make choices with our money, with what we buy. And I'm
Totally.
like, how can you help? And I'm like, by, getting all these little apps on your phone that says this is environmentally friendly products. This is not tested on animals. I mean, it's so easy. There's like 30 different products and you just pay $1 extra and you get the one that's,
Yeah, definitely.
there's so many things you can do, and and all these little small things add up, I think, and people just don't know.
Yeah, and they don't. Yeah, and that's one of the well, that was going to be one of the questions I asked. Like, what are some of your biggest frustrations as an environmentalist, as a vegan? Is it that people just don't know, or is it that they're not, or that they do know and they're not taking action, or what are some of your biggest frustrations? Someone that you're just like, listen, wake up, people. Like, what are the things that kind of
I
drive
I
you
think
crazy?
people don't know because if you watch it on TV or you see an ad or you whatever, it's not really registering. Where I think it's education. I think it starts with the kids. In Denmark, they dragged us to mink farms. You know what I
Wow.
mean? To see what was happening. Like, I think it's education. I think it starts with kids because they're the future. And I think that kids, James Cameron has it right. He created a school with his wife where the kids grow their own veggies and they learn how to cook and they learn about nutrition and they learn they're educating the kids. And I think if kids knew this is, what I mean? You can educate them, and that's where
Right,
it's,
like maybe we should take them in the United States to a dairy farm or a
yeah,
slaughterhouse, and be like, hey, you want to eat meat? Like, just this is where it comes from. Like,
exactly, because I don't think people know, I pre-COVID, I went every Sunday to St. John's Slaughterhouse. It's a slaughterhouse downtown. They get like 10,000 pigs a day that goes through there. So what I do is I just go and I film, the police is there, a bunch of people are there, and we just go and film the pigs, the trucks getting pulled in. And these pigs are 6 months old. They're 3 times bigger than they should. Some of them are dead because they're coming from Utah, in the heat.
geez.
So, and they have, cancer lumps this side. They're completely deformed, some of them. And they're just little kids, they're just little pigs. Some of them wants to play, and
Yeah,
we just film it so people can make the connection right before they go in and get slaughtered, because people haven't made the connection because they're not educated. So I think education is key. I get so many messages with like, hey, I want to be vegan, and where do I start? And you seem like normal. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know what I
right, yeah,
mean?
right,
uh,
yeah. You don't have
what
tattooed
do I
face and like,
yeah, like healthy. So they're like, what,
yeah,
how, what, where? You know what I mean? People just don't know.
yeah.
Like what? Like they don't know what to do
So
because
you still do some of that undercover work? Like, is that
uh,
what when you say undercover work, is that what you mean by that? Like some of the
yeah. I
filming?
mean, I used to where they would send me out in the fields, and I would do from horse racing to dog fighting to dairy farms to like anything. I would do anything. I don't do that anymore because my skin is not thick enough, and I just you
It takes
know,
a toll.
yeah, I mean, I was the one, I would flip the table in a restaurant if someone ordered foie gras in New York. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, Nina, I was losing faith in humankind.
yeah,
And the thing is, a lot of us animal rights activists, we become a little crazy because we just see too much.
totally. I get
And I
it.
was one of them.
Yeah,
I realized I was one of them. I was just holding on too tightly, and I was posting all my undercover footage, and I was, you know what I mean? Like I was just because I was so devastated. Where now I believe in attraction, not promotion, and a lot more people come to me because I'm not shoving it down their throat. They
yeah,
just want to know. You know what I mean? How I do it, and Meatless Monday, and things like that.
yeah.
Um,
Simple little things, and
yeah,
And that's kind of the approach that I take with my wildlife photography is I see some of the destruction and the poaching and I document it, but I don't sell that as fine art, and I'm not putting it on my Instagram feed and things like that because sometimes it's just too intense for people. And
Mm,
instead I show them the beauty of it. Like I show them like this gorilla behind me and I'm like, this is what's worth saving, right? Like
mm,
show them like the cute side, and there's a time and a place for both of them, but I feel like you do, instead of being like the angry vegan, being
mhm.
like the welcoming, kind one who's healthy and fit, and something that they want to join instead of just feel overwhelmed with.
Mm.
I think that's important what you're doing. That's great. Yeah. So
We're doing the best we can, and I just feel, that if you look at it, that people, just don't know. Not too long ago, I went to an actor's house. We were supposed to work on this project together, and I come in, and he's just his whole house is just covered with exotic animals, dead, right? And that's his, you're right. And I was like, okay, you can do two things, Nina. You can
hmm.
lose your shit and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or you can like try to educate him, you know what I mean, or just try to like just put a little bit of common sense, you know what I mean. And what I learned was from this rehearsal and talking to him that we had, I mean, he was misinformed. He thinks that by killing these animals, in these villages in Africa where he went, that would feed a whole village. You know what I mean? And that's how the village survived. When the truth is, these criminals, they pay $30,000 to shoot whatever animal they want, and they keep all the money, and they don't support the villages. I mean, it's all lies and corruption, and
Yeah.
and they just don't know, because he's not, I've been, as you know, I've been working with some of these organizations, and they're right there in the middle of it, and the villages doesn't get any of that. They don't
Yeah.
get any of that money.
Yeah, that actually transitions into a good organization that I know you support, the International Anti-Poaching
Yeah.
Foundation. How did you get involved with them?
um I started with VetPaw first.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually first I started with the Wildlife Way Station.
Okay.
It's a place that have about 450 exotic animals, and I volunteered up there, and I would do like charities events where I would invite a bunch of people, and you would go and get a tour of the animals. Chimpanzees were the main thing from testing labs that they rescued,
Oh wow, yeah.
and so watching those animals, and again, once you look into those eyes, and you see, everything changes instead of just seeing pictures, right? Like when you,
Yeah. Oh man, when they look into your eyes, it takes over.
yeah,
It's a different level. Totally.
that's yeah, that's what happened. And that, after that whole experience working with those guys, I got into VetPaw,
Okay.
which they're anti-poaching, great organization, but they were doing things, a little different than how I do, in my mind, would do things. And then
Like what? What's an example? Like what's a,
it's just, anyone who tries to support animals and protect them, I take my hat off, right? And
yeah.
I introduced them to a lot of people, got a lot of people to donate, and to the organization. But it's just, the new gear, the new T-shirts, the new hats. I went to their events when they were raising money, and it was like, um, they have the news of the new motorcycle bikes. They, you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah, yeah. It was like, wait, you're kind of getting off track here. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it should be going back to the animals. Instead it's kind of, you know, becoming something that it wasn't meant to be, maybe.
Yeah, where the organization you're talking about, I mean, it's not the case. You know what I mean? He started that whole organization by himself. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
was meat eating. I saw him on TED Talk,
Okay.
and then I was just like, this humongous military
Yeah.
meat eating angry, dude. And then he just transformed his life. He became a vegan, and he's like, what am I doing? And he dedicated his life to save the wildlife. And then on top of it, he his you know soldiers, anti-poachers, down there are women who are molested, raped, who had a really hard time, and he trains them. He
Wow.
trains them to protect wildlife. So he has all these incredible women who, had whatever they went through, and then he trains them to get their confidence back, and they're wildlife protectors.
It's pretty amazing.
So, when I met him and studied and learned about everything, I was just in awe.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
like,
It's like, you're a superhero. I want to be.
yeah.
I want to be attached to you any way possible.
I was like, whatever you do, and I was like, damn it, because a lot of my contacts and stuff, it's like limited how much money I can, and
Sure, right. Like, we can't just give checks to everyone.
yeah, I just really wanted to help him and his cause and what he's doing. And then and then there's Veronka Park with my friend that took care of all the chimpanzees. He's
Yeah.
a pilot down there. And pre-COVID, we planned on me coming down there, and I just wanted to shoot on my iPhone kind of style, and just shoot a little video of what's going on, because they sell these chimpanzees, they sell these baby chimps, they shoot the parents, and then they sell these baby chimps for like $30,000, and then they have people infiltrate those kind of deals, and then they send my friend to come and rescue these little baby chimps, you know what I mean? And his plane got shut down, his face is reconstructed.
Wow.
A bunch of the anti-poachers and the security just got killed, and
it's super really risky
business. Yeah, they're really struggling. They had 10,000 elephants or something, and now they have like 123 elephants in the park. And I just wanted to go again. I can't change the world, but I was like, now that things are getting back to normal, I still promised myself I would do it. I would go there, I'd stay with him, and I just want to shoot again. If people see what I see and what he sees, and these little baby chimps that he rescues, they're little humans, and their parents got killed,
Yeah. So they're traumatized, and they're
completely
just
traumatized.
To figure it out. Yeah.
And I told my friend, I was like, it's just a matter of time before they shoot your plane down, and then what?
Right.
And Anthony, and he was like, well, if I don't do it, who is? He's been trying to train people to help him, but it's just so risky down there. And I was like,
super risky. And that's in Virunga, right? That's in the Congo?
Yeah, it's Virunga Park. Yeah, that's the park that he works for. Yeah. Yeah. And they have, they have support. They have done documentaries, but again, I was like, if I can go firsthand and try to shoot it like how I see it with an iPhone, so you really get the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the rawness
of it. And if I just do a little, even just 15-minute video, and just try to help and get all of my friends, that I've worked with to donate and do something, and because I just don't know how much longer Anthony's gonna make it.
Man, isn't that tough to know friends like that are just like doing it, and you're just every day like, man, I hope they're all right. Like, you just don't want to like read in the paper or see the news about that, because
no, I mean, he went on some talk. Ellen DeGeneres had him on, and
good,
she's big, and so he did. They did get some attention, and they are getting, but they need more. I mean, you know what I mean? His plane got shut down and his face got reconstructed. I mean, obviously they need more security.
Yeah.
So I just try to do, at this point in my life, I try to build my name, because by building my name, I have more platform to speak out on. So the main reason why I love what I do.
Of course.
But the main reason is to be a voice for the voiceless.
Man, that's exactly it. Good for you. That's
so I mean,
that's what all of us in this field are trying to do. Is like, that's like on my websites, like, be a voice for the voiceless, like the ones.
That's it.
Yeah. Have you been to Central Africa?
No, I haven't.
You gotta go.
See, I have never gone, and I was like, if I was gonna go, I don't want to go on a safari trip. If I want to go, I want to go stay with Anthony.
Yeah.
And do it, you know what I mean? Because I just feel like, again, I don't know how long we're gonna have him, and they just keep, they don't have this. The problem is they need security. They need people to protect the people that guard Veronka Park.
Totally.
Yeah.
But to this day, that is, I was in Rwanda on Volcanoes National Park, which is just over the border from them, and to this day, like the experience I had with the gorillas is still the most impactful wildlife experience I've ever had. And I've been on 7 continents now doing wildlife photography,
Wow.
all sorts of really cool stuff. And to be in the presence of the silverbacks,
Wow.
letting them welcome you into their family and have the babies running around, like touching your shoelaces and just acting like kids, and like dad's over there just observing it all, and mom's like nursing babies. You just like, it's emotional. It's really
I
beautiful.
mean, just you talking about it makes me
Yeah. Yeah. And like, that's the sort of experience that I want everyone to see and be a part of, because like, if they feel that welcoming by a group, yeah, it just changes you. And it's like, you can't not want to help. I get why Ellen is doing all the things that she's doing, because yeah, she's clearly experienced that and had that touch her in a way that she now is devoting like half of her existence to doing that. And I'm so proud that she is. And other people are getting involved like that, because it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing something beyond you, and it's just so important. So that's amazing.
I mean, that's what I keep telling everyone. I was like, just do one thing. Like, just pick one thing and do something more than just for yourself. You know what I mean? On this planet. I mean, I'm like, that's how we pay rent to the planet. We're staying
Yeah.
here. Like, you have to, I think at this day and age, we have to do something. And I still believe it's start with education. It starts with young people. Like, they have to, like Greta is a great example, because in Scandinavia we are taught we and not I, in the schools. It's very we as a country, as a you know what I mean?
It's what's
So,
missing definitely in the world.
yeah, and I think it's a we thing for the animals and the environment and Mother Earth. It's not just us humans that are superior and then everything else is down there. I think that's the mentality that is hurting us the most. We're responsible, and people have to take the responsibility, and I think people just don't know. They
Yeah.
don't know, because if
With everything that you've seen, and this is something that I struggle with, and I still have hope, but with everything that's going on in the world, with melting ice caps, with forest fires, with droughts, with increased storms, do you still have long-term hope for this planet, and why?
Scientifically, I don't think there is hope.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
Scientifically. But for me, I have to think there's hope, because otherwise, what's the point? Because sometimes I'm like, what's the point of going to these slaughterhouses when Mother Earth is gonna take us out eventually? So why
Yeah.
am I here trying to save a pig, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Or a dog or whatever. So I cannot allow myself to think like that. And then, I have a while back, I made this very conscious decision that if I fall into a hole and if I start feeling despair, and if I was like, I chose to believe that that's my ego.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to make a change, I just can't. It's too selfish to let myself fall into this hole and just throw up my hands in the air and be like, it doesn't matter, because the earth we're not going to make it. So
Right.
what's the point? And I think, so I have chosen to think that's the ego speaking, and I just put it over there. And then I just
let it have its moment, and then like,
moment, yeah.
yeah, and then like come back and be like, okay.
And then, exactly. Yeah, because you get discouraged, because I think scientifically, I mean, that's why I think it starts with education. It starts with youth. It starts with Greta, Thunberg.
Yeah, so proud of her. Absolutely.
Yeah, it starts there, and I think more and more people are waking up. And the beautiful thing is, I can see it with my own family members. People are getting sick and people are dying because we're eating cancer. We're eating disease, and then when they start learning that, then they start to like wake up a little bit, and then they start to learn about the environment too. It kind of like goes hand in hand. So I have hope that I just think people are going to get so sick and die from what they eat and what they put in their body, and then they're going to start looking into the diets and the plant lifestyle, and then they're going to you start waking up. I mean, that's my only hope, I think.
Yeah. Do you kind of like gently spoon feed people this information instead of like just kind of cram it at them and overwhelm them? Because that's kind of what I try to do. I watched, and I'm sure you have too, or if you haven't, you should definitely check it out. The documentary Seaspiracy.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, guys, like watch that. And then like let's have a conversation about the global, like food
Yeah.
chain and things like that. Is that kind of the approach that you take with people? Is just
Yeah,
kind of
I
give
do.
them a
I do
little,
that too. Like, I don't have them watch Earthlings. I have them watch Game Changers,
yeah,
because if they watch, they're not gonna get through Earthlings. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So have them watch Game Changers, and they're like, "Oh my God, I want to change my diet so I can feel great." And I'm like, it doesn't really matter. I think at this point in my life, I don't care why people are changing, why they start thinking about the environment, why they change their diet. The key is that they do it. And the problem that I have with a lot of activists is they start bringing politics into it. And I was like,
yeah.
it doesn't matter what your religion, your politics, because it's about the earth and it's about the animals. And it doesn't matter, like, leave it out. Start to get very political.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that
Yeah.
way, right? Like it doesn't have to be
No, because
political way.
again, it's like the main thing is to educate people and to have them make different choices, right? And it doesn't matter who they vote for or what they believe, if they're anti-vax or vax or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, right?
Like, it's not the point. The point is, we're not going to be here if we continue living the way that we live. And the animals are, as I said, like with Hell Hath No Fury, it's a holocaust. The holocaust is not over for the animals. It's happening like right now in the slaughterhouses and in the dairy farms. It's very much alive. It's identical. So that's the kind of things we got to stop. And what people don't realize is they're gonna die.
Totally.
Like, from the disease, from the pollution, from the air. There's not. I mean, the
You
oxygen,
can,
just
yeah, you
that.
can track the industrialization of our food source to the rise in global diseases. I mean, they're
Yeah.
very, right? It's like those are parallel lines and they go up. And it's like, how have we not made that connection that once we started doing this mass farming of food and you know taking the nutrients out of it and stuffing everybody with slaughterhouse food
Yeah.
that is just totally terrible for us. And we watched the so I actually used to work in the health industry as a personal trainer and for a long
No
time.
way.
And so I'm familiar with like nutrition as well. And just the lack of nutrition that's available in a lot of the
Yeah.
our food is just so sad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, but again, it's like one of those things. It's like, if you look at it all, I think it's very dangerous. You kind of have to, like, one foot in front of the other.
yeah,
What is it that they, if you drive from LA to Vegas, you don't need to see the whole road. You just, like, put your headlights on, and then you just kind of, because it's overwhelming if you start to think about it. At least for me,
yeah.
uh, too far ahead in the future. And I think if everyone just did a little bit, if
Yeah.
everyone just
And
did their part.
yeah, and that's kind of my next question is a lot of people have a hard time breaking habits. Like they go to the grocery store, they order the same,
Mm,
25 things they put in their basket like every single week.
mm.
What are one or two changes that someone can make in their diet that will transition them into um, vegetarianism or being a vegan away from that isn't like it's not like a cigarette smoker just like going cold turkey, right? Because that's pretty tough. And so, what are one or two things that someone can do to like begin to transition themselves?
Well, it's I started, with the meatless Monday, like once a week to start with, and then, there's so many amazing products right now. They're not necessarily the healthiest for you, but if you eat a little bit, Beyond Meat, I did the ad for those guys because I love what they stand for. So if you have to make the transition, you can do it slowly with fake meat, and start there. And like, my Russian meat eating dad is now, like, ordering, I think it's called the Four Seasons. So he gets, like, a basket of veggies with, a little recipes.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. They're great.
Yeah, and they deliver it to him once a week, and him and his wife are like cooking it 4 nights a week, so he eats vegetarian 4 nights a week
That's
now.
excellent. Well
Like
done.
being a crazy Russian dad, you know what I mean? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And I was the little girl that would make him diet books and tell him what to do. And then finally, I started my new approach where I was like, Dad, you do whatever you want to do. And then now he's doing that with his wife, and it's just like, like things like that. And then when I tell people they order like a salad if they're trying to be healthy, and then they order chicken. And I was like, just order a salad and get a veggie burger on top.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have toured all over America, a lot in Chicago too, actually, and
Yeah,
done
yeah.
shows. And it's harder to be a vegan in the Midwest and stuff. But I mean, not really. Like, I'll just go to a restaurant and I'll be like, oh, they have nothing for me, and I'll just ask them. I'll be like, hey, what can you do? Can I get like four side dishes or
Sure.
whatever?
Yeah, make a
And
meal
they
out of
always
it.
go, vegan. What's a vegan? I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, what's a vegan?
Yeah.
They don't eat meat. And then they come with like a fish, and they're like, that's not. I'm like, but no, I mean, there's always something.
There
Like,
is.
there's always something. You just have to be a little creative in the beginning, and definitely, start with once a week, and then, switch out, you know, switch out all of your meat with the fake meat to start with,
Yeah.
and then slowly. I don't believe in eating too much of it, because a lot of it is processed,
Right. There's different chemicals and stuff. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it. I shouldn't be eating it. That's what I
Yeah,
always
exactly. But I guarantee you it's better to eat that than some
Yeah.
farm raised, cancer with chemicals and antibiotics, and I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? It's better to eat a little bit of processed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so speak real quick to I mean, you're really fit. And so what people often say, like, well, if I go vegan or vegetarian, like I won't get my protein, I won't be able to
Yeah.
sustain, like I feel like I'm wasting away. And obviously it's not true. So what do you do or where do you find that you're filling that void of the protein meat? Like where are you getting I have a lot of your nutrition.
Yeah. I mean, always tell people to watch Game Changers because they do a
Okay.
better job explaining it than me.
Yeah.
But I do, the protein Francie that's still happening today is a myth. It's we don't actually need that much protein. Our kidneys, a lot of people get kidney failure and problems and kidney stones and stuff. And it's because we can't process all of that protein. We're not meant to have all of that protein. And, we are taught that carbs are terrible for us, which is not true. All athletes, they
Right. You need it.
function on carbs. I
Yeah.
was an amateur boxer, and I, what the only difference is I eat a lot more, than maybe a meat eater. Like I
Sure.
eat like, people are like, Jesus, like I eat like a chicken because I work out, and you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I have a
Yeah.
good appetite and fast metabolism. But so you have to maybe eat more, but
As a lot of
I
us
really
Danish do.
like.
As a lot of us Danish people do with the
I
fast
know.
metabolisms and
Yeah, but I mean, I don't, I eat my, grains and eat avocado a day, and I don't really think about it. You know what I mean? I sometimes will have protein shakes, you know what I mean, and a little extra protein, and depending on the character, if I need to buff up, I'll,
yeah.
you know, uh, step up the protein. But I don't, and my blood type, that's another thing. My blood type, I should be super sick right now because of my blood type. I need
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, to survive. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And I am totally fine, and I'm not anemic or,
Yeah.
so that's another thing, oh, the blood type thing. And I'm like, yeah, but if you become vegan and you eat French fries and vegan donuts, and yeah, you're not gonna feel good, but eat the grains and the greens, and don't eat, soy chicken
Natural,
nuggets.
healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
you know what I mean?
right.
Some sauteed vegetables and some whatever quinoa is super high in protein, and
Yeah.
some yummy dressings, and just, make it super tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other organizations that you support that we haven't talked about that you're passionate about that you want
For
to?
wildlife.
Wildlife. I know you do animal rescue.
Yeah, I work with I work with so many. It all depends because there's the ones for the small dogs and there's the ones for the pit bulls. There's the ones, uh, um, um, you know, um,
Do you have a rescue dog or cat yourself?
I had one and
Yeah.
he passed away, and
Aw.
he was at we went to rescue some pit bulls for dog fighting, and he was 3 months and he was just running around, and we
Wow.
snatched him because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Because you
yes. And
need
I've never had
to.
a cat before, so I was like, I was like, what does this thing eat? You know what I mean? And yeah, so he was like my everything. But I foster
Do you?
dogs.
Well, I don't know how people that you have a big heart because I would never be able to let them go. Like I just couldn't.
But the thing is, you become, I won't say numb, I will never feel numb,
Sure.
but it just comes to a point where it's like I've just seen so much, so I understand the bigger picture more than where in the beginning I was so attached to everything, and I would cry, and I'll go to the slaughterhouse, and then you just get, my skin is just a lot thicker. I don't know if it's a good thing because I'm jaded, not jaded, but it's just I can only take so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where these dogs, they need help, or cats or whatever. I can't tell you how many cats I have, found, and then
Well,
they
it's
all,
like your friend said. It's like if not me, then who?
and then
Right.
who, yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
exactly. So I just do it, and when I'm available, I do whatever I can, and I try not to obsess about it because I can very easily, I used to have panic attacks and wake up in the middle of the night, and you know what I mean, and I would know about these shelters and these dogs that would get put to sleep, and
uh,
it was just
yeah.
like 80 pit bulls, and we just couldn't rescue them out. There's just not enough spaces, and I just couldn't, and just knowing that these dogs were going to put to sleep, I mean, I just couldn't. I used to have these kind of panic attacks where I wake up in the middle of the night with just my heart pounding and feeling that it was my responsibility, and then I learned that I can only do what I can do.
Yeah. How did you deal with that? Like, did you do like meditation? Did you do
Oh
like
yeah.
therapy? Like, was it like?
Therapy, but the biggest, I'm in 12-step programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Not for alcohol, but for Al-Anon. I was raised, with a lot of chaos, and so I do meditation, I do yoga, I do my writing every night, I do my gratitude lists every
Yeah, I'm
night.
a huge proponent for therapy and people like just
Yeah.
working on stuff. It's excellent.
Yeah, and I think the better I am, the better I can serve. So
Yeah.
whatever hangups or issues or whatever it is that I have, like if I get emotional every time an animal it doesn't make it or whatever, I'm not, you know, I'm not I'm not being of service. Where the hardest thing for me was, not to rescue every dog and not to rescue every animal, and go, Nina, focus on your career, try to, get a little bit of a name for yourself, and then you can do a lot more.
Yeah.
Because I just felt guilty even focusing on my career.
Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
doing it.
So
Congratulations. Yeah.
I'm just doing, as I said, I'm just trying to do the best I can and find the balance. And I think if we're, you know, um, healthy and happy, we can do more. And I think it's one of those things too, like, well, Ellen DeGeneres, she built a career and now she has the platform and now she can move mountains, right? So I
Yes.
was like, if you want to follow those footsteps, keep focusing on your career, and then when you're a little older, then dive in more to the, then you can do more and you can move bigger mountains instead of just saving one dog at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you. I really think that you're gonna move some mountains and
Well, I hope so.
yeah, keep doing
No.
what you're doing. All of us need people like you in our world, and I really appreciate all the work you're doing, and I truly wish you get to Central Africa sometime. And when you
I
do,
am doing it. I
yeah,
mean, everything was planned. My tickets were all reserved to go and see Anthony, and I bought the gear and the gimbal and the whole freaking thing. And
yeah,
everyone told me not to go. Everyone was flipping out because it was too dangerous. And I thought, I mean, life is dangerous, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. So I will do it. I have a couple of projects. Again, as I said, I feel so guilty focusing on work. But I'll finish these projects and then I'll definitely go.
Yeah. Well, you're
Have to.
building your platform, and and on that platform, you'll use it to do great things, I'm sure. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing where your career takes you. I really appreciate you taking the time. I definitely acknowledge the time that you spent with us. And I just, again, I look forward to seeing where you're going. And when you go to Virunga or anywhere in Rwanda, or wherever you end up, like, I can't wait to hear about it. I want you just,
Yeah, I'm gonna save.
yeah, just like the tears coming down your face, because just me talking to you, like I get emotional, like just that experience, and I can't wait for you to experience that yourself and to be able to share that then with the world, to connect people to what you're seeing, because like we were talking about in this podcast, the education and seeing things with your own eyes, and if people can't do it themselves, then to give them a ability to see what you're seeing, and maybe it makes them make one little change, just something.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
step by step, and if we all do that, then we can save this planet and
I know.
prove the
I
scientists
know, but
wrong, and be a voice for the voiceless, right? And
but
so
you're doing your part. I mean, this just makes me so happy when a lot of us activists, we like stick with our peers,
sure,
and I try not to, because we are all on the same page, and I think change happen when you go to a meat eating restaurant, right?
yeah,
I'm the vegan. There's like, go to the steakhouse and support the vegan option that they have. Don't go to Veggie Grill.
right.
Veggie Grill's doing fine. You know what I mean? Go to the steakhouse and order the vegan option and
I'm gonna
support.
try that here in Chicago. I'm gonna definitely put that.
You
I'm
know
gonna
what
go
I
to, like,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
what,
yeah.
like, can I get the vegan option? I will. Yeah.
I don't know where, downtown where you are, there's like, right? There's
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah. I'm downtown Chicago. So it's like every other restaurant is like
Yeah.
steakhouse. So next time I go, I'm gonna take the Nina Bergman challenge, and do
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah. And you just
vegan
make your
option.
own, and hopefully enough people will ask, and then they have to actually put it on the menu. That's how it happens, not by going to Veggie Grill every day or whatever vegan restaurant. They need the support too, but yeah, I changed my philosophy on that. I was like, no, it's the same. We need to hang out with the people who don't get it. If we just all hang out and talk to each other and make each other feel good and support, and agree, I think it's great. But the change is hanging out, with my co-star there that, is
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
hunter and like trophy, you know what I mean, with all of his heads on the wall. I was just,
yeah.
yeah, like that's I think where the change, at least for me, I think I can be more utilized.
Yeah, and we all learn so much from each other. Like I learned something today from you, and when I talk to people who are like the board of directors of some environmental organization, like I learned from them, and we all really do start supporting each other, and it's beautiful, because we're all in this together, and we have a
No,
different role one way or the other,
yeah.
and it's just awesome that to support each other. So
But sometimes you forget. Like sometimes I feel like I'm by myself fighting this fight, and then when I talk to you, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's right.
yeah, yeah, right. Like it
I'm
gives you,
not alone.
yeah, it gives you a spark of hope, and
Yeah,
we got to
exactly.
keep
Yeah,
that flame going, because it's so important. So.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. I look forward to watching Hell Hath No Fury.
Yes.
Just from the little clip that I saw, it was awesome, and you did a great job. And I look forward to
You.
seeing the whole thing from start to finish, and whatever else you come up with down the road. So I will be following you. You've made at least one fan,
Mm,
and I really appreciate your time. So thanks a lot.
I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for joining me back at the Art of Actual Change. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was a phenomenal talk. I hope you share this with whomever you feel may be impacted by this episode. Please share this episode on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to information and media like this. I really appreciate if you guys get the word out. We are trying to save this planet and make an actual change in our world and the world around us. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.